I think there's about a couple 100,000, the population in Samoa entirely, and I know that it's a pretty high percentage of the population is LDS. I would say it's close to about 40-50%. So, which I didn't know about until I got there, and it's crazy to see that all the different chapels over there, whether it's LDS or of a different faith, they're all built. They're beautiful buildings because Samoa, the people of Samoa are religious people, and they, I mean, I didn't really meet anybody who didn't believe in a God out there. So they're always religious. The thing about the LDS temples that sticks out, or the LDS chapels over there, is that they're blue and white, which I wasn't accustomed to coming from Utah. And the thing about the chapels is that there's not one every couple miles. They're kind of scattered throughout the islands over there. Excuse me. And I mean, they're beautiful buildings. They stand out, and it's like, how can you not know that that church is true when you see just the work and the design and the perfection of the chapels over there. And they do have one LDS temple out there. It's in the middle of the capital in Apia. So, and it's kind of a cool background because there's around the temple, there's a school called Pesenga, and Pesenga is pretty much the LDS church school there. And so that's where most of the kids that are of the LDS faith will go to that school, where they can learn. And I know in that school they teach you to speak in English, and which I thought was astounding, that they make you speak English that way, because, you know, English is one of the primary languages on this planet, and that, you know, to gain that knowledge, you'll be able to use it, you know, in different places throughout your life. And I remember my dad, because my dad went to Pesenga when he grew up, and I remember sometimes they would punish him for not speaking English, and I always thought that was funny. And he, you know, lets me know now that he's so grateful that they did make him speak English, because it's gotten him where he is today. So, I mean, just the temple over there is amazing. It's by far my favorite temple. It's almost as you have that tropical setting and then just a temple. It's almost like you're in paradise, and it truly is. The heat, the noise, the ocean, all that sound goes away when you're kind of on the temple grounds, and it's kind of crazy to see that and feel that when you're on the temple grounds in Samoa. There's a village in Samoa called Sauniatu, and Sauniatu is by far one of the most prettiest places in Samoa, and they have this, they call faleo'os, these buildings, or these little hut fixtures, all over Samoa, and they have this big one, and it's called the David O. McKay Fale, because David O. McKay went there, and he gave a blessing to the people of Samoa, and especially that the area of Sauniatu, in which there would be, you know, vegetation, and that it would be beautified there. And it's kind of crazy to know that, you know, an apostle or prophet of the Lord, you know, went to this tiny place in this tiny island to announce that blessing. And I always knew about Sauniatu because that's where my dad was born, and he always told me, you know, if you ever get a chance, try to go visit Sauniatu when you're out there. And thank goodness for one of the areas I was in was close to Sauniatu, and we were able to go there on a P day, and we were able to, you know, the view there is amazing. I mean, everything is so green. There's waterfalls everywhere. There's just mountain ranges over there that are just astounding, that you can't see anywhere else except in Sauniatu. And you can almost feel the presence of, you know, the Spirit constantly with you in that area, just because a prophet of the Lord was in that area as well. And with the population, and going back to attendance in sacrament meetings and church meetings as well, I would say that most of the time the congregation is pretty full for the different wards. There's a lot of wards over there. I know there was 3 stakes in Upolu, which is the main island in Western Samoa, and I think they've gotten it up a couple more since I left. So the church is continuing to grow out there. One of my favorite things is that I miss here, or miss back there coming here, is that the hymns that they sing in sacrament meeting, they almost scream to the top of their lungs, and I miss that so much, because here in Utah, not a lot of people are singing the hymns to what they should be, and it's almost like a whisper here compared to what they're singing out there in Samoa. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure the primary kids in Samoa could out-sing a congregation here. It's just insane, and the spirit you feel when they're singing the hymns is just overwhelming. The Samoa Pia Mission, there's only one, and it covers all the islands. And there's 3 main islands. There's Upolu and Savaii, which cover Western Samoa. And then there's Tutuila, which is American Samoa. And American Samoa is a U.S. territory. So over there they use U.S. currency and drive on the right side of the road instead of the left. And it's almost like a Hawaii sort of feeling in American Samoa. And I had the opportunity to serve on all 3 islands. And Upolu is pretty developed. A lot of people over there, it's pretty developed over there, have homes and electricity. And then there's American Samoa, where usually everything is pretty updated as well. But my favorite island to serve on was Savaii, and that was the back side of Western Samoa. And I actually got to serve in the back side in a town, or in a village called Neafu. And in Neafu, it's on the very back side of that back island in Savaii. And it's crazy to see how much of a third world that country was going there. I remember when I first got transferred out there, people, I didn't see any houses. There was no houses out there. It was mostly just shacks that they had built with sheet metal across the top for roofs, and then just wood that they would use from trees out there. And, it would get super dark, but it would also be really lit up at night because of all the stars and the moon out there. And it was crazy to see how these people could survive without the things that we have here, technology, electricity, and things like that. And serving in Neafu gave me a greater appreciation for what I have here in the States now. You take for granted so many things that you have here when you go to a third world country like that. I remember having to do my own laundry in a bucket, using a scrub brush, and my knuckles were pretty sore from scrubbing my white shirts. And you take for granted that, and transportation, walking or biking in that humidity can get rough at times, and you take for granted air conditioning and things like that.